The new Star Wars trilogy is officially over, so we now have a new ending of the entire series. And the new sequel trilogy has been quite divisive. The Last Jedi divided a lot of fans. A lot of fans loved The Last Jedi, and a lot of fans hated it. And Episode 9 was mostly hated by all the fans. The main reason that the new sequel trilogy didn't turn out to be as big of a success as Disney had thought it would to be was because there was no plan. Before we get started on with this video, I'd just like to say that there definitely 100% is going to be spoilers for nearly every Star Wars movie out there. So, when Disney bought Star Wars, they knew they were going to make a new trilogy, but what they didn't do was make a plan. They had no plan. They didn't know how they wanted this new trilogy to end. So they just started making off movies. Force Awakens came out. Everybody loved it. Last Jedi came out. People loved it and people hated it. And then Rise of Skywalker came out and everyone hated it. Today, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on if I would have been at Disney, this is what I would have done and written for the entire trilogy. So I do have a whole trilogy planned out, but I'm not going to share the entire trilogy in this one video. I think I'll just be going by movie by movie. So first of all, I'm going to be doing The Force Awakens, the first one in the whole trilogy. Before we get started, I would just like to say I did not do this all alone. I'm not taking the full 100% of the credit. I will be giving credit to the person that helped me as well. His name is up on the screen right now, and there will be a link to his channel in the description and an annotation at the end. He has no videos yet, but make sure to subscribe so you could be the first person to see his first video. One last thing before we get started on with the script or the story, it's not really a script, is that this is just my take. So you guys can comment if you don't like this. You can comment whatever you want. They completely hate my story, and it's up to you. It's just remember, this is not ever going to happen. This is just completely my story. It's up to you if you hate it, if you love it. It's completely up to you. And just remember, just because it sounds good on paper doesn't mean that it will be good on screen, and vice versa. Just because it doesn't sound good on paper doesn't necessarily mean it will be trash on screen. If you read somebody a lot of stories nowadays, the scripts, it doesn't sound good, but when you actually watch it, it turns out to be amazing. Finally, let's begin. So I consider my biggest change for Force Awakens is there's a title change. And I would like to say that out of all the three movies in the trilogy, Force Awakens is the one that I actually did not change. I did not remove anything from this movie. I just added more stuff to this movie. So I didn't remove anything from The Force Awakens. I just added more and more depth to it. So the title that I would do is Shadow of the Empire. So why did I change the title from The Force Awakens to Shadow of the Empire? I think that Shadow of the Empire actually fits with the story better than The Force Awakens. Because in this movie, in my version, we're just going to be adding more of First Order into this movie. So there will be much more First Order than in this movie than it was in Force Awakens. And the First Order is exactly what is in the title. The First Order is a shadow of the Empire. It is not as big of a threat as the Empire, because the First Order never manages to get complete control of every planet in the galaxy, unlike the Empire. So they are technically a shadow of the Empire. And in this movie, I wanted to make the First Order feel more of a bigger threat, because planet-killing weapons, it doesn't feel like a big threat anymore. We've seen that twice already. We've seen Death Star number 1 and Death Star number 2. A weapon that can destroy planets, it's not really a big of a threat anymore, but I feel like a bigger threat, something that makes us feel that the First Order is ruthless, is a public execution. Yeah, that doesn't sound right. How does a public execution make the First Order look more ruthless than destroying like an entire solar system? while it actually does. Because we can, as a viewer, we cannot relate to an entire solar system blowing up, because it's just too much to imagine. We cannot imagine in our minds what it looks like for the people inside the planet, what a planet blowing up looks like. But what we can imagine is a public execution, and we can show the camera will be in such an angle where the public execution just feels shocking and terrifying. A public execution develops more fear and more hatred towards something than planets blowing up. Because in this, we get to see the faces of the public. We get to see the people, how their reactions are. We can see the reaction of the public. We see how they are reacting, and we get to relate to their reaction. We don't get to relate to a planet blowing up because we can't imagine ourselves in that scenario. And this execution will take place a little bit after the opening scene where Kylo Ren gets the map for Luke Skywalker. That will take place a little bit after that. Maybe a couple minutes. And the person that is being executed is the old man that gave Poe the map to Luke, a little bit of that piece of the map. So that guy will be the one that's being executed. He'll be safer later for an enormous crowd to see his head being chopped off. And the next big change that I would bring to this movie is that in this movie, episode 7, we find out why Kylo Ren has switched to the dark side. Also, in my version, Kylo Ren is the main guy. He's our protagonist. Kylo Ren is the villain, but he is the protagonist, and Rey and her team are the good guys, but they are the antagonist, just like Thanos. Thanos is the villain, but he is the protagonist, and the Avengers are the heroes, but they are the antagonists. Exactly how George Lucas said, Star Wars is like poetry, it all rhymes. So now in my one, our villain is indeed our main character. This would just be like if in the originals, Luke Skywalker was not our main, Darth Vader was our main character. And we get to see why Kylo Ren switched to the dark side, and which was the reason why he switched was because Luke tried to kill him. And the reason I did this is so that Kylo Ren feels less like a bad guy. And throughout the film, we do get like flashbacks of him looking at his past, how he was happy staying with Leia, and Han Solo would always be out somewhere doing his shit. So how he never really got to really be with his dad. So we get to see a little bit more, like around 10 minutes throughout the film, of Kylo Ren's life before he was, the apprentice of Snoke. And also we get to see how exactly Snoke was creating voices in Kylo's head, like how Palpatine said in The Rise of Skywalker, I have been every voice that you have ever heard in your head. And I want Darth Vader's voice to be there, Snoke's voice, everyone's voice to be there, Darth Vader's voice saying that you are meant to be on the dark side, so that, we see in episode 7 that he is a conflicted character, that he doesn't know if he should go on like he should be the next Darth Vader, or if he should be like the next Luke Skywalker. He does not know. He's a conflicted character. His family tree has conflicted him, his family. So we see how Snoke has manipulated him, but Palpatine has manipulated him already in this movie. So this just adds more character and just makes Kylo Ren to be a much better character than he already is. I really do feel like that the Shadow of the Empire, if this actually turned out to be a thing, it would add more character depth. It would make Kylo Ren a much, much more interesting character than he is. And also, if we find out that Luke Skywalker, the man that brought Darth Vader to the light side, tried to kill Kylo Ren in episode 7, then that is already a big mystery to solve in episode 8. What darkness did he see inside Kylo that he wants to destroy? My overarching story is about Kylo Ren in the whole trilogy. I really want to make Kylo Ren the main focus. So in Shadow of the Empire, the big question is going to be, why did Luke try to kill Kylo Ren? Not who is Rey's parents. Rey is like our second main character. Her question will be she will also have her questions there. Who is Rey's parents? But our main question is, why did Luke try to kill Ben Solo? I was thinking of sharing the opening crawl that I made, but the opening crawl is the exact same crawl as the one in The Force Awakens. The only thing that has changed is just the title. So The Force Awakens was my template for this movie. I think The Force Awakens was a great start, but it could have been much better. So I added in more Kylo Ren aspects to it. So we get more Kylo Ren character development, and Kylo Ren is just a much better character in this movie. So he is more of an interesting character, and he's not just a Darth Vader wannabe. He actually has layers. He has a good amount of layers, and then on the outside, he is just a hard piece of shit. He is just a ruthless killing machine, but in the inside, he is a big softy, and we get to see why. Why does he want to be Darth Vader so bad? So The Force Awakens is around 2 hours and 20 minutes long already. I think the new runtime, if it was Shadow of the Empire, I think it would have been around 2 hours 45 minutes. Yeah, that does sound long. 2 hours 45 minutes is long for a Star Wars movie. But just remember, Transformers Age of Extinction was the same time. It was 2 hours 45 minutes. And does Transformers Age of Extinction really need to be that long? No, it does not. But if a Star Wars movie is 2 hours 45 minutes long, then there is a lot of good stuff they can pack in there. So this is my take on on episode 7. Come back next time for my Last Jedi, my episode 8. So this is it for this video, guys. Make sure to share your opinions on the story in the comment section, and I'll see you all next time.